Hey, this is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com. Today I want to talk about the drag and drop hype behind Studio One. Now, before I jump into that, let me be honest. When I first heard about Studio One, when it first released years ago, I was actually working in sales for Sweetwater Sound. If you've never worked or shopped at Sweetwater, great experience. Definitely recommend them still highly, even though I don't work there anymore. But the PreSonus folks came and they showed us Studio One. And one of the big features that they were touting was the fact that everything is drag and drop. If you want to use plugins, if you want to instantiate virtual instruments, whatever you want to do, you literally can go about the entire session without ever having to pull up a window, okay? And, you know, I heard that and I thought, big deal. I don't quite get why that's beneficial. That seems like you're going after maybe the people who've never done recording before and want it to be really simple. But what about people with experience recording, like myself? How arrogant. I would never use drag and drop. And so so I was a Pro Tools user at the time. Years later, when I finally started to try out Studio One, and I started to really experiment, well, actually I saw another PreSonus presentation where they were showing the drag and drop functionality, and it started to click with me. I thought, oh, this does make a lot more sense. So let me show you, first of all, the old way, the old Pro Tools way of putting a plugin on a track. That's the biggest place where I use drag and drop in Studio One, has to do with plugins. So here's a song. It hasn't been mixed yet. Most of the tracks have been recorded. I did the vocal yesterday. Plenty of work to do. I'm not even sure if I'm done recording yet, but it's mostly there. So let's say I was going to start mixing this, or at least I needed to put a few things on there to bounce it out and send it to my buddy to get his approval on some guitar parts or something like that. So here's what that sounds like by itself.
But is that really true?
Okay, so let's just pick something that we want to do something to with effects. I say, let's pick the snare top mic. Let's add some beef to that, okay? So as you can see, the only plugin on here is an EQ with some notches in it that we did during tracking because there was some ring there. We just left that on there. So you can ignore that for now. First we press F7, and that pulls up this window over here. And we click over to the effects page, and that'll be there. So F7 makes it go away and brings it back. And the way I have it set up is by vendor in PreSonus, because honestly, and I'm not just saying this because, you know, I like PreSonus, I literally probably use PreSonus plugins 80% of the time. I've got some different things. I've got some wave stuff down here, but honestly, this is what I use. I'm a big fan of just using what's there and focusing on getting better as a mixer, right? Improving my skills as opposed to using new stuff. So anyway, let's say I want to EQ this snare. Let me show you the old way before I show you the cool way. So the old way, the Pro Tools way, will be to pop over to the mix window, and then we come over here, and we click plus, and then we go and we scroll, and we find the plugin we want. Oh, where is it? I can't find it. Maybe these will be sorted by plugin manufacturer, but it takes at least 2 or 3 clicks to get to the one you want. Now, I know Pro Tools has a way to set up favorites, but I never used it because my favorites always changed. But, okay, finally we found it. Click. There it is. Okay. And then we can start doing our EQ or whatever we want to do. And then if we want to add in anything else, like a compressor or anything else, we have to come back over here and sort through these. And we have to do this every time we add a plugin. So potentially dozens of times over the course of a mix, you're spending a little time going in and searching for that plugin. Now, the way I like to do it, and the way PreSonus designed it to be done, is to have your plugins kind of over here in this small space over here, where I like to put them in alphabetical order, and I can quickly go find what I want and just drag it on the track that I need it on. I don't even have to open the mixer window. So EQ is what I wanted. Is that what I said? Okay, there's EQ right here. I click it, and I drop it onto the snare. Boom. It opens up, and I'm ready to start tweaking. If you go to the mix window, you'll see there it is. It was added on the track. It's right there. Good to go. So let's EQ this real quick.
But is that really true?
Okay, let's just pretend that's the sound we wanted. I don't want to waste your time EQing a snare. But let's say we got it, okay?
But is that really true?
Now we decide we want to compress that. Well, all we got to do is come over here and say, hey, Mr. Compressor, I'm going to drag you onto the track. We can drag it one of two places. We can drag it on the track and it'll show up, or we can drag it right here. Next, in the same window, boom, check the mix window. Now we have a compressor in place. And now we can start tweaking that.
But is that really true? Oh.
Boom. And the same goes if we want to do something like add distortion, or here's another one. Let's say we want to add reverb to the snare. This one's a little easier. It takes one extra step. You got to open up the mix window or the inspector window over here, someplace where you can see the send section for that particular track. And then all we have to do is go find our reverb. So I like this room reverb plugin. Now check this out. I drag the room reverb over to the send section on the snare, right? I'm dragging a plugin to the send section. Look what happens. I let go. Boom. It created a send. And look right here. This auxiliary effects track just magically appeared with the reverb plugin on it. And the plugin pulls up and is set to 100% wet mix, which is what you want when you're using a send and return. And we hit play and it's right there.
But is that really?
Now we can just start dialing it in from there. Literally, that one drag and drop saved about 3 or 4 steps and probably a good 10, 20 seconds of setting something up. So you can imagine, I know quickness and speed isn't everything in a mix, but what if you could get to the sound you want faster? Wouldn't that inspire you and encourage you and help you to keep moving in the mix, as opposed to getting bogged down by taking 20 minutes to just mix the kick and the snare because you're spending all your time clicking around and sorting through menus? This makes it so much faster and intuitive, and to me, it's just a lot more musical. So in this instance, I would say, you know what? I don't want my reverb to be really muddy, so I'm going to drag an EQ after it and roll off the low frequencies. Okay, great. And then drag and drop applies to everything else. I can drag this. If I want my overheads going to the reverb, I just drag it over there and it copies it over. It's just, there's so many little hidden drag and drop moves in here. I could probably spend an hour showing you a lot of different things, but this is the big one. I can drag effects onto the tracks themselves from over here, and it saves me so much time. I don't go to menus anymore at all, and I love that. So if you've never really embraced the drag and drop hype, as it were, I don't think it's hype. I think it's really cool. Check it out. Just try it on a mix. Force yourself to never click on this little plus sign in a mix, ever. Drag them from over here, and I think you'll find it is a cool, intuitive way to work that feels much more musical. Thanks for watching this video. More to come. See you later.